Alright, now it's time for another Moby video or C sharp. Still in that habit, I guess. But I just have the multi-threading over on the side here, so just going in order. First is to create data to represent Dorothy, so that's going to be a change in data, and of course the main where it's all initialized. So I changed it here, so string for a name, string for favorite character, and color for favorite color, which is an enum, which I'll get to in a second. Well, not a second, but and then here's the commented stuff for the blocks, since this is the not thread safe version and it's not synced. But then if I go to data, I did change it a little bit. This was mostly just because I was trying to figure it out more myself. So this is why it's an object and not a string. And basically, when I did it, it was only giving me, or it was never giving me one of the characters, and that was just like weird. And so I did this, and that kind of fixed it, but it was basically just like a mix of the order of the threads and just the way it was. Because no, it wasn't that it was never giving me a one character. It was only giving me, I think it was the Tin Man just once at the top, and I just was like, that's kind of weird, and so I like messed around with it a bit, and now that's not happening. So I think it's just the way it was, plus also just the way threads work. But yeah, so it is changed a little bit, but it's still same concept, still just locking up the threads so that only basically so the data doesn't get mixed up. And then, oh yeah, I'll show the main too. The way I have it here, here's the data. So name, favorite character, color, and then when we sync the data, we keep the name, and then Tin Man's the favorite character, and then silver is the favorite color. So yeah, and then I did like default nobody, and then I just did color green because of the emerald slippers, and that's the same in the other main. And then next, create threads for the different characters. So here we have Dorothy, Tin Man, or because yeah, that's the name of the character, and then the thread is actually setting it to the favorite. So there's threads for each of them, and there's some extra stuff here that I'll mention when we get to that section. But that is also the same between the not synced and the synced version. Next, this isn't worth points, but it's still on there, so I did it, and that's the enumeration for color. This is like, I think this and then the thread itself are both the exact same between the two, but thread was already in here, so like just to make it the same, just for the sake of making it the same, both of them have their own color, but they're the same. So it's obviously there could be more colors in there. It's an enum, but since just for the specific example, I just made it the colors that you need. But obviously, you can, just by looking at it, you can tell it's very simple just to do something like this or not. It's I think it's just Visual Studio. Yep, it's just Visual Studio being slow. But and however long it takes to respond, it's gonna have the word blue there, presumably, because I did type it. But it also likes just not working sometimes. So I'm going to talk and hope I don't have to pause this. But if I have to pause this, that's fine. Next is to do the different. Okay, yeah, there we go. And now I'm just gonna pause this, man. So yep, there is blue. And now I'm just gonna undo that. But yeah, pretty easy to add colors in there. And then next, oh, it's just to have the two different versions of, corrupted, not corrupted. I'm gonna show that closer to the end. Like the actual running of it, I already showed the different versions. And then, okay, the number of threads, so don't need to show this in multiple, but basically had to use list. So I did one for the my thread threads, and then just the one for threads. And since this is already in a loop, I just had to change this number. I had it at 100, then I just changed it to 150. And see here, the threads are being added to this. See, there's ABC, ABC, and then here, I mean, I guess these could be put out here now, and it would be a little faster, which in this case would actually like be more of a like not a huge difference, but that's just something worth mentioning. And then make the threads with the with the thread proc, add them. Then you can do the for each loop, and then this is the same, other than I changed it to 150, and then you can join them together, which just fixes some like small issues that I was having. And yeah, that's a pretty. It's more work than maybe you would expect for just moving this into a list, but it's still like a works pretty sim. Uh, it works the same is what I'm trying to say. And then I obviously I did that for this main as well, and the locking doesn't change anything in that aspect. It's still the same there, or the not locking in this one. I mean, and then next is to show perfmon. So now we're gonna get it running. So it's gonna run, and the first I'm just gonna show. Actually, no, I'll just start off with the big one. So here's performance monitor. Here's some stuff that it's showing. I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna restart it so we get it, so it's like we know the starting point. If I do this, and now it's just gonna go like that. It's gonna start, and now I'm gonna do a just a synced run. And we should see, yep, there's a spike, and then it. So this is probably just the processing of it, and then here's the actual, putting it all on there because it did take a second there. And then I'll just do all of them and show it on here. So not sync. Gonna see there, you can see it's going up a little bit. It's not responding, but that's because there's a lot. And so that one, yeah, that one, it was one of these two spikes. Mm, It seems to be like more spread out in terms of how much it takes, which makes sense because, they don't have to be synced. But so basically, one higher spike, this is basically part of it, versus a few lower spikes versus when it comes to sync versus not synced. Now, background should be the same, or relatively the same. Obviously, got other stuff going on here, so which is going to affect that. But I feel like it should be relatively the same. But also, you can see it's happening in the background, so it is less. You can honestly, just because of how it's going, you can't really even tell that it happened. So yeah, it is the same in the aspect of actually, no, not really. You can't really tell anything from that too much. But I'm gonna try again, see if because having it go, oh, there we go. Yep, there we go. Don't know why I didn't do it the first time, but that's definitely that spike. And just go, and then next, let's finally do the background not synced and see how that goes. And then once again, no spike initially, but let's just try it one more time. It's weird how this is kind of inconsistent, but there, see, it's it's almost the exact same, just slightly not higher. So that's a pretty interesting, which makes sense because less work to do for each thread. So, but it's still, a good bit of work. So, that's a pretty neat way to look at it. And, say, oh, this takes more, this doesn't, and then there's the, very simple explanation as to why that is. And then next is just to show the corruption, which it probably did show on here. It's just wasn't focused on that. But I've noticed I'm gonna do background sync first, but that's because I've noticed that the not background sync actually gets corrupted easier. But still, there you can see right away Tin Man. Tin Man's not yellow. Tin Man's silver. And just another one I noticed, Cowardly Lion is also silver here. Silver here. Tin Man brown. Wonder if there's any scarecrows messed up. Scarecrow. yeah, scare crown, brown and yellow. So yellow there, and then silver here. So yeah, it still does mess up, but I think I actually did have like a run of this where, uh, it's me, where the knot sync like ran perfectly, and then or like the background knot sync ran perfectly, or at the very least near perfectly, and then the knot sync, you know, didn't run near perfectly, and it was kind of a big deficit. But let's do the not synced as well, or the not background not synced. And see, Tin Man, yellow once again. So yeah, it is messed up as well. And then a bunch of Scarecrow browns at the end. So yeah, just interesting. Obviously, you want your data to be safe, uh, locked up so that this doesn't happen. And just to make sure, I already tested this obviously. Actually, I'm gonna clear this first. But I'm going to show the synced versions just to show you that it should all be safe. So, Tin Man Silver, Tin Man, Scarecrow, Scarecrow, Scarecrow. Uh, yeah, I'm not seeing anything weird. Just, looking at it. And notice how there's with the not synced, there's that big chunk of Scarecrows at the end, where this, you can kind of see that it's more, blockish. See, there's two Tin Mans, three Scarecrows, uh, two Scarecrows here, a few Cowardly Lions. Like it's more blocky with a less uh, of a pool at the end, which is kind of interesting because you could see in the not synced where there's a lot less of the Scarecrows interweaved. It was all the way, and that's why a bunch of them were all at the end. And now, just for the sake of completion, do the background synced. And see here, it's the same kind of deal. Uh, I'd say the chunks are more chunkier in this. See, there's like a good chunk of Tin Men, eight of them, but that's not really or nine, but yeah, that's not really big deal in terms like it's probably just you know I'm running a thread or a bunch of threads at different times. Like let's just do this again, just one more time and see. Uh, there is, still chunks, but it's not as big chunks as before. Like the highest there was 9. By the looks of it, the highest here is one, two, three, four, 5. So yeah, that's a pretty big difference, and that's just, how it goes. Threads, they're not gonna go in order. They're threads. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. Not anything else to say off the top of my head. Actually, you know what? One thing that I did want to show is Task Manager. I didn't put this in the image because it was kind of hard to get with. Like, this is just me wanting to do this, not part of the assignment. But I wanted to show Task Manager as well, and I didn't want to do it like in the document because it was kind of hard to capture, and I would just want to show how it uses a bunch of CPU. Because right now it's using 0, and it's going to be kind of hard, but just ignore the other ones. And just notice about 44 memory, about 8 to 10% CPU. And now sync, it goes like it doesn't shoot up, but it goes to 14, and the memory is completely unaffected. And that was I think I clicked background, so let me do normal 13, 15, and it's done. So it does. I just wanted to show that it doesn't like rocket up, but it still does have an effect on the CPU. And keep in mind, this is, you know, yes, this is 150 threads, but this is just, text. Now imagine you're doing this with something else. And keep in mind, this is 15% of 32 gigabytes of memory. So that's or not 15%, but this is 3 to 4% of 32 gigabytes. So that is quite a lot. So, on a lower end device, that would be much more. So it's just kind of important to keep that in mind as well. And I just wanted to mention that because, the performance monitor reminded me of how I wanted to talk about this. So, yeah, that's it for this one, and see you next time.